Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at Riderflex. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the Riderflex show for updates on new episodes. And by the way, if you haven't already, check out the book we recently launched, The Riderflex Guide, Inspiring and Hiring, available for purchase on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
You look like you're in pretty good shape there, Charles, taking off that jacket. You go to the gym pretty regularly.
Well, with the amount of stress that we have to deal with on the daily basis, it's good to get it out.
Totally. Just so you know, it gets harder when you get older. I'm 56 and damn it, Charles, it gets harder.
Well, my body has been breaking down over the last 20 years. You get the crack and the popping and get a little bit stiffer when you sit down for longer.
Oh man. And in the mornings, it's a little bit longer to get to the coffee machine, just a little, I ease in.
Yeah. Well, the coffee machine is what keeps us going every single day. So without that, it'd be even slower.
Speaking of drugs, #1 drug on the planet, caffeine, right? I mean,
it's a great one.
Charles Gellman on the Riderflex podcast. Hello, Charles. There you go. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, Steve. I'm looking forward to the podcast and chatting a little bit more about what we're doing and what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, I mean, what you're rolling out, it seems so much like a no-brainer. Like when I'm watching the material and I'm watching some of your marketing and the media, I mean, the whole time my brain is like, what? Like, how can this should have been out? Like, this should be, why hasn't this already been out?
Yeah, we've been thinking about that ever since we started the company 5 years ago in 2018. We kept questioning ourselves the entire process is that somebody must have already done this.
Surely.
How can somebody not have thought about this? And I think people have thought about it. I just don't think they put on the cap of the end user, the patient at home that's struggling with chronic disease. So once you start thinking about being that person at home, whether or not you had a stroke, or if you have some type of cognitive impairment, or you have some type of other chronic care disease, you think what they need. Once you actually think about it, then you are altering the product innovation to cater to what will be most effective at home. And I don't think that's ever happened before. And we had some very unique engineers that were able to put this together. So in theory, it sounds very simple, but from an engineering standpoint, it's exceptionally complex.
Yeah, and I want to get into that because I was watching some of the details. But before we do, let's tell the listeners a little bit more about Charles Gellman, especially when they look you up on LinkedIn. They're trying to study you, figure out what's going on. Give us the story, Charles. How about let's start way back, parents, siblings, where you grew up. Give me some history, man.
Yeah, so born and raised in Southern California. Very fortunate in growing up. I was a competitive swimmer, so went to the Junior Olympics every single weekend. Had to practice and compete on a regular basis from a young age, and then finally got burnt out because we were swimming all the time. But it was definitely a monumental experience, just competing with so many folks and being in these environments and training for several hours a day with that type of regimen. So very grateful and thankful for that experience.
And what'd your folks do for a living?
So my folks started in real estate. So they manage a number of different shopping centers and real estate ventures. And that is what they did 24/7.
And still today, are they healthy, married, alive, still in business? What's the story?
Yeah, so my father and mother were both born and raised on the East Coast. My mother's no longer with us. My father's on the East Coast, so he's no longer doing that. He's actually an author. So he writes books about presidents, and he's been doing that his entire life.
Wow, how many books does he have on Amazon? Can I look him up?
Yeah. His name is Erwin Frederick Gellman, and I think he has 8 books. He did a series with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and now he's doing a series on Nixon, but he's written about numerous presidents. So he's quite an accomplished author, and he's done a number of different speaking engagements.
I got to ask this. How many presidents has he met in person?
That's a great question. I don't know, but I know he has access to a number of files, and he definitely enjoys his work.
He knows things. He knows things other people don't know.
Yes, yeah, I presume that he actually started in college, and he was given specific clearance. So he's always been interested in history and presidents. So he enjoys what he does.
One more question about your dad. Now with all this AI and the Chat GPT can write books for you. How's he respond to that? What's he say?
Oh, he's archaic. He loves to, use pen and paper, and he takes notes. He does have a pretty significant amount of memory. He has a photographic memory, so he's able to recall his books, and he writes everything down. And each one of his books are 500-600 pages long, and just is able to go for days. So he's on a whole nother spectrum.
And how many siblings?
So I have an older brother and an older sister.
Were they also in sports, swimmers?
Yeah, everybody. We were pushed by my mother and father into swimming from a young age, and it was probably to keep us out of the house and away from the TV and video games. And everybody was a competitive swimmer. We also did water polo growing up. And
really, really, are you a tall guy? Because of water polo, because swimmers in water polo usually tall people.
I wish I had a couple more inches on me, but I'm tall enough. I'm about 5'10".
Okay, very good. And were you a good kid, a good teenager, high school, college? Were you rebel, partier, straight A's? Where were you in the mix, Charles? Give us
I guess it depends on the perspective of the person that is interpreting the definitions of each one of those characteristics. But I was a pretty, straight and narrow. I didn't really go too far outside of the realm. And listened, to most people most of the time, but except for, you always have those run-in with your parents every once in a while on, cleaning up your room or listening to what they have to say.
You never had to call dad from the sheriff's office or anything fun like that? Nothing.
No, I never really gotten into that side.
Okay. Well, I know you got sales traits and you had some big sales positions in your career. And a lot of times guys like that, big personalities, big high EQ, sometimes venture out into social life pretty heavily.
I definitely enjoyed myself during college.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. Very fair enough. And how about now? Single, married, kids? What's the status?
Yeah, so married and have 4 kids, and they're doing very well. So very excited with the family and the foundation that we have here.
How old are they, Charles?
So the oldest is 20. So we're 20, 18, and there's a bit of a gap, 10 and 5.
Okay, 20. Damn, bro, how old are you? I thought you were much younger. You look super young.
Well, I appreciate that. That's probably the lighting and the AI imagery that's coming at you through the camera. So that's all by design.
My oldest is 32, believe it or not. So I started young as well.
Yeah, well, you're looking good. You're just saying when we started this thing that you're cracking and popping, but I mean,
I got the I got the tint and the camera. I got a certain way.
Yeah, I think it's the glow, the natural glow.
So when you were going to school out in Southern California, did you know what you wanted to do? Did you have entrepreneurial aspirations? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so from a very young age, I would say around 8 or 9 years old, my mother and father started grooming us to take over the business. So we started looking at properties in different locations within the Southern California area, good areas, bad areas. And so, my eyes were open to what they were looking at. In addition to that, I started working at a very young age on the beach, valeting cars when I was 10 years old. So then that begs the question. It's like, well, how can you valet cars at 10 years old?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I didn't physically drive the cars, but I was at the parking lots and then shepherded them in different directions. And they started to show me, all the different business transactions and the types of people that were involved within those beach properties. And so then you start figuring out the lay of the land and the businesses, from a very young age, just getting positioned and just learning the types of businesses that are going on. I think it was an eye-opening experience.
Yeah. Did you and your siblings, are you still running the real estate stuff, or you sold it all, or where's that at?
Yeah, it wasn't mine to sell, and it wasn't mine to run. I was too young at the time, so that was my parents' venture. So they did.
Okay.
They ran that.
Okay. Curious. So when you got your undergrad in finance and business, what was your undergrad in?
Yeah, my undergrad was in finance.
Okay.
And then finished my master's in clinical informatics, which is a fancy term for data science. And then I decided to top that off with another degree.
The School of Medicine, you went to School of Medicine. Were you thinking, you weren't thinking you were going to be a doctor or anything, were you?
Yeah. So I was in the Bay Area working for Johnson & Johnson at the time, and I was taking some post-bachelorette pre-med classes at UC Berkeley. But after speaking with a number of different physicians that owned their medical practices, I decided to venture down a different path of how I could impact more people, and that was through technology. Because many physicians, they kind of feel like their hands are tied with what they can do, because they can only impact the people that are directly in front of them. And I wanted to figure out, is there a way that I could get a broader reach to touch people? And I'll kind of take you back a couple of notches. I was going down the line of finance, and that was my intent, to go into investment banking. My brother at the time, he was an investment banker at Merrill Lynch. So I thought I was going to go down that road.
I see.
But then I had a medical error happen to me where I had misdiagnosed ruptured appendicitis. So my entire body was basically going into septic shock. So I spent a couple of weeks when I was in my early 20s in the ICU because of what happened. So that kind of altered my career trajectory from finance to healthcare.
Wow. Okay. All right. And when you were in healthcare, you were in data science or sales or both?
No. Well, I first started in pharmaceutical sales with Johnson & Johnson. And then I was actually exposed to a book, which was a computer information system book, at one of my roles when I was selling medical devices. And then I figured to myself, this is the same class that is being taught at the college level, but I'm doing this for work. I should probably finish this coursework since it's the exact same thing. And it looks like that's where things are going down. So I just trusted my gut at that time and said, you know what, maybe we should explore this a little bit further. And that's where I made that transition.
I see. And by this time, you're married with kids already, right? Probably.
Yeah. So working full time and going to school full time.
With the little ones at home.
Yeah.
Oh boy, what's your wife do?
She takes care of the kids at home.
Yeah, I mean, you got 4 kids. I mean, hey, yeah, I totally believe it. Okay, yeah. Plus, you're going to school and all that. Okay, all right, very good. Okay, so you're moving along in your career. You're getting your master's. Okay, I see how things are progressing. Oh, then what happens? Well, tell me how this whole entrepreneurial thing happens.
Yeah, I started to see data science and technology evolving over time. I started going to school, trying to get my credentials, so people would actually listen to what I was talking about. Because before, as a salesperson, as much as I'd like to think that people would listen to you, they're taking everything with a grain of salt because they didn't have those credentials.
Okay.
So what we started to look at was the types of outcomes or performance metrics for all the different hospitals, and providing software to executives so they can make decisions that they didn't have access to. So think about
who's we and what company was that?
So that was actually independent. That was me and other researchers at UC Davis. And this was pre-Tableau. So there was no type of data visualization tools. What we were able to create was a data visualization tool for hospital executives to understand performance metrics. And that gave me a bit of an insight to what if or what could happen if I had credentials And then I had access to the right folks with the right technology, and kind of opened up Pandora's box of what could be if I was plugged into the startup scene.
Okay, but I'm trying to figure this out. What are you at UC Davis getting your master's, and you meet some friends, you meet some colleagues, you guys are out for beers, you're talking. How's that? I don't know. How does that formulate?
Yeah, so UC Davis has a graduate program where if you take a number of classes online, you can transfer that into the graduate program. So what I did is I took a number of different courses with the intent of transferring to the graduate program. So that was me just pursuing what I saw at work with the data science background, and then going after it.
I see. And then you had friends. You carried people along with you. You had some friends you were doing the studies with, or?
Oh no, I thought about what I was doing, and then I started to talk to people about it through LinkedIn and through our network, and they started introducing me to other people. And one of the first times I pitched a company was at a dinner party where there's a bunch of people that I don't know. I don't know who they are. I don't know what their backgrounds are. And then I just told them what I'd like to do. And then out of the woodworks, this person comes forward, and says, okay, that's a great idea. We know so-and-so, maybe we can help you out.
Well, let's just take a pause right there for a minute. You're at a dinner party, unplanned. This is unplanned. You and your wife are there. This is like a backyard barbecue thing, whatever. And this comes up and you pitch it, and the right people were in the audience. Whew, man, I love that.
Yeah, you just never know, right? You never know.
You never know. I've done several podcast episodes on being able to pitch yourself or your product or your company in the spur of the moment, right on the spot, anywhere you're at. I mean, you just never know. Okay, it wasn't like you pulled out a PowerPoint and started flipping through it.
Absolutely not. No, not at all. It was just people speaking. I believe it was a New Year's event, but people speaking about ideas and things that they wanted to change.
Oh.
And I was one of the last people to go up, and I said, you know what, might as well just talk about what I'm doing and see what happens.
Now, how were you making a living at that moment? Where were you working?
Yes, I was working at a medical software company at that time.
Okay. All right. Very good. Was your wife, was she sitting there like, Charles, what do you do? Like, Charles, stop it. Just sit down.
The startup journey is a roller coaster. So she definitely has questioned what we've been doing for the last, we've been working on this for 5 years. I'd say 4.5 of the 5 years, right? So the adage is, when the money hits the bank, I'll believe it's real. So when the money started hitting the bank, then she started to take notice of what we were doing because there was momentum behind it. Before there's momentum, a lot of people see it as a dream or an idea, but bringing a dream and an idea to life is a monumental effort, and you have to have a lot of support around you to make this vision become a reality, and that's not easy.
Dude, 5 years. I want to pause right here for the listeners. Just kind of stop for a minute, because this is such a critical phase. When you first started the company, did you quit the other job right away or ease in?
Ease in. And when I mean ease in, we were working 24/7. So
yeah.
There's really not much of an ease in. Either you are or you aren't in. Now, I had to continue to work because we had to pay the bills. Yeah. So you have to moonlight. We're working 7 days a week on the weekends, nights, doing everything possible. And my co-founder was all in at the beginning on the engineering side. The contractors and the engineers, they were all in. I was managing the business side and raising the money, but you have to have folks that are all in order to make it happen.
Okay. Now, the first year, from the moment you quit your job, your other regular job, you quit. Okay. That salary is gone. For the next 12 months in your company, do you remember what you paid yourself, if anything?
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't make anything for the first 4 years.
Okay, so you went 4 years, no pay.
I was having to work another job while I was also working here in order to pay the bills.
No, okay, no, yeah. Quit. All right. But when you quit your other job, were you able to pay yourself a salary at HiDO?
Oh, yeah. But it's less than half of what I was making.
This is where I was going with this line of questioning. Okay. So now, even now, today, I'm guessing you're making what, a quarter of what you could be making as an executive salesperson for a pharmaceutical company?
Yes, I'm making much less than what I was making before.
Dude, you know what I did the other day? I shit you not. I did this math. because Riderflex, our recruiting firm, we've been in business about 6 years, right? And I was an executive, like you. I was an executive. I ran some companies before this, and I factored in what I was making. I was like, okay, over 6 years, I was making about 250. I was making about 250 a year. 6 years into, I'm doing the math, and then I added in how much I've made at Riderflex over the last 6 years. So I'm like, fuck, I think I've given up like $1.5 million, maybe something like that. but I would not go back and trade it. I would not trade it. I wouldn't go backwards, right? I've loved every moment of it, and I would never trade building a company of my own to work for somebody else. So you can tell your wife it's all going to be fine.
Yeah, she'll find solace in believing my words.
The second year, I was 24 months in. The first year I paid myself like 30 grand. The second year I paid myself like 40 grand. I never forget. My wife comes in one day to the office, and she comes down. She goes, yeah, I know you really like what you're doing here, but are we ever going to start making real money again, like someday soon? But it's gonna. Now you've raised cash since then, though, right?
Yeah, we've raised some capital. So almost every single dollar, for the first 4 years, every single dollar was put into R&D and engineering. That's for a reason, because that's what it takes in order to alter care. To make things easy for patients, you have to have a lot of complex engineering take place to make it happen. So there wasn't any money for me, and I was prepared to sacrifice whatever needed to happen to make that happen.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. How much have you raised total? Can you share?
Yeah. We raised over a little bit, over $1.5 million in seed funding. We're actually raising some post-seed funding right now of another 500. And then we've had NIH funding for a little bit north of 600,000. So we've done some collaborative research with Stanford, and we're actually finalizing some research with Rush University for dementia patients.
Okay. Are you targeting any certain dates for like a Series A or anything? What are you thinking?
That's dependent upon what happens. We have a number of different health plans, large health plans in California that we're chatting with, as well as some home care, senior care operators.
Okay.
So depending upon what happens with those contracts, things could change quickly.
Running a company as a CEO is hard enough job, my friend. Doing that and trying to raise cash and going on road shows at the same time. Oh, by the way, while you have 4 kids at home, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. Well, nothing in life is easy that's worthwhile, right?
Yeah. Good point. That's a good point. Good point. Why don't you give us, just do the elevator pitch, man, for HiDO, and for the listeners, real quick, let me just go in here. So it is HiDOHealth.com, HiDO Health.com. Give us the elevator pitch, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions.
Sure. Yeah. So HiDO is an AI assisted robotic device that lives at home that alters your health and wellness. And when I mean,
yeah, let's see it. All right.
This is the thing of beauty right here. This is the HiDO device. So this has facial recognition on it, and you can show them some videos of what it does. But it essentially, you walk up to the unit, it unlocks, it dispenses the medication, and then it is a video direct observation recording of that medication with a clear cup. So you can actually physically see the pills going in people's mouths. Why this is unique and different is because at home right now, people lack assistance. So at a fraction of the cost, or having some type of device at home, you can have care that doesn't currently exist in the marketplace. And that is the fundamental change of what the HiDO device can do for potentially millions of people.
Let me make sure. I want to go drill down to kind of commoner language here for some of our listeners, especially the 70-year-olds. Just shout out to my mom and all that. It's a device that will dispense your pills for the day, however many you're supposed to be taking, at whatever time. I'm guessing at whatever time. And as it dispenses, it will dispense based on you looking at it, because it's facial recognition. So it dispenses your pills in case there's more than one person in the house, right? And it dispenses your pill, and then you take it, and it sees you take it, and then it records that information and sends it back to the pharmacy and your doctor and your health insurance. Who all gets the info?
So it depends upon the workflow of the health plan. More than likely, it's not going to be your doctor or nurse. It's going to be somebody on the back end just making sure that you're taking your medications appropriately. Either it'll be somebody from our company or it's somebody from the health plan, like a case manager that's overseeing a population of folks.
Okay. And is an additional charge to get the device and have somebody watching over me to call to tell me that I didn't take it, or that's all inclusive?
So the fantastic thing for your friends and your family members and loved ones, it's of no cost to them.
What? It's of no. Why isn't it? You better be making 350 million of these. So they need to be all over the. What are you talking about?
So the reason why it's no cost, because if you think about it right now, the health plans are already paying for your medications, right? But people are struggling to take their medications. What we do is we ensure people are taking their medications according to the complex regimens that doctors and nurses give them. And what this does, this actually reduces costs for health plans. So the amount of hospitalizations, ER visits, unnecessary appointments going to the doctors are eliminated because people are actually taking their medications according to the protocols. So that's why it can be of no cost.
Okay, but who's paying? But who's paying you?
Health plans.
All right. So United, Kaiser, whatever, these people are, I see. So your client is the health insurance companies.
That's correct.
Okay. And they see it as a benefit because you're keeping Sally from going to the hospital and costing them bigger money.
Well, think about it like this. There's two different ways. You can think about it from a cost perspective. You can think about a patient perspective of improving their quality of life, but also think about it like this. If you think about how do we help people at home? What is the current standard right now? You can either send somebody there, which is cost prohibitive. You can have people try to take care of themselves, which is what's going on right now, not working out very well. Or you can have a low cost AI assisted robotic device that's able to monitor people 24/7, but smooth out their health because they're able to take their medications according to how they're prescribed for the first time.
I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer, Charles. Why isn't Kaiser ordering 1 million of these from you right now?
Well, when Riderflex becomes the #1 podcast in the world, that will happen.
I'm sure you're having these meetings like on a regular basis with all these health providers. So this is your #1 job, probably.
There are a number of large national health plans that we're speaking to right now. So anything is possible in the near future.
Okay. And is this like patent protected, super secret sauce? Nobody else can make one? Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So we have, intellectual property that's patented for the system design and architecture and the electronic transmission of the information that we send from device to the pill cap. So there is some unique IP and secret sauce around it. But if there was a large distributor that could push it out to millions of patients, they could definitely white label this and slap their logo on it. It's really important just to get it out to the masses.
Oh, so that's your plan. You're gonna let somebody white label it however they want.
Well, my plan is to impact as many lives as possible, whether it's a HiDO name on it or somebody else's name on it. That doesn't matter.
I see. To get it, usually, I'm not. This is more your expertise than mine, but from other people I've interviewed on the Riderflex podcast, to get a medical device ready for launch, get the past prototype, get it ready, and all this with the engineering, the software, all of it, the R&D, usually takes a lot more money than what you've raised so far. How did you do it on such a small amount?
Yes, you are correct. It should be about 10x of what we spend.
Yes.
And our team should probably be about 5 times larger than what it is. But we have some, the engineers that we have are exceptional. I originally met them at another startup that I was at. And we came across some pretty unique folks that are highly skilled and dedicated to this craft, with the ability to take nominal wages and also work 7 days a week. So to your point, yes, it should be much more expensive. It should have taken longer, but we were able to do it. And that's what's unique about this company and unique about the people that support the development of these products. They really just want to impact as many lives as possible because of what we've seen. And what we've seen is something that's very unique, is that we can alter people's lives, improve their quality you see their mental health and their self-esteem. You see everything transformed just simply by able to have the independence and freedom of using a device, not being dependent on others. And that's what I think really drives us and motivates everybody within the team.
Just I've talked to you once before and I'm talking to you now. I can almost imagine your conversation with some of your friends that you worked with. You take them out to the bar and you're like, listen, guys, here's the deal. I got this great idea. I can't pay you shit, but we're going to save lives and you're going to get a little piece of equity. And if this works out, we're all going to make a bunch of money, but we're going to work 7 days a week and you're not going to hardly make any salary for 2 years. Come on, let's go this way, guys.
It's amazing what you can get done if everyone's on the same page, and you kind of put the flag down and you say, okay, we hit that. Now we're gonna move it further, and then we're gonna move it again, and we're gonna move it again. You just keep you chasing it.
You are Mel Gibson in Braveheart. You are Mel Gibson in Braveheart, Charles.
We are a bit of an underdog, yes.
But I love that, bro. That's so fantastic. Okay. Are you ready for mass production? Are you ready for somebody to order 100,000?
Yeah, so we're designed for manufacturing. So are we ready? Yeah, we're ready. We just need the order and the capital behind it to make it happen. So this is ready to go out in the market and to completely alter the way we even think about care. So think right now, you have your refrigerator, you have your microwave, you have your dishwasher. Well, now you need your HiDO Home Health Hub. So we can actually ensure people are taken care of at home. And that's it. Once you have the type of technology in the home that should already be there, you're talking about completely transforming the way we deliver care.
Would you, in order of priority for you as a CEO, are you trying to get the order and then raise the cash to do the production, or simultaneous, you're doing it at the same time? What do you
everything is happening? We're flying the jet and we're building at the same time, right? So running parallel paths, but with an order of that magnitude, the financing's there.
I can see you and your co-founder now. The first order comes in for like whatever, a huge order, right? You high five for like 45 seconds and then you go, okay, shit. Now how do we get this shit built in time?
Well, the interesting part is that we have a variety of exceptionally savvy investors and business folks that are behind the scenes, that are exceptionally well networked, and they have resources in order to make these things happen. So you always have that moment where startups like a roller coaster, right?
Yes,
you have those ups and downs. But the one thing I say to these engineers every single day, it's always better to push these units out than to have them on the shelf collecting dust. Nobody wants to see their designs shelved. What they want to see is they want to see them in use, and they want to see them making an impact. And that's where things get excited. So yes, you have those oh shit moments, and those will never stop. But I'd rather have those oh shit moments while we're moving forward than just sitting in our chairs not doing anything.
Are you sleeping?
It depends on the night, right?
So yeah, I want to make sure that I ask a couple of questions specifically around, because I saw the stat. Was it in the video I saw it could be the third leading cause of death in the US is because they don't take their pills properly.
The third leading cause of death is due to medication and medical errors. That's true.
Wow. Did not know that until I watched your video, by the way. Do you think the device will cause, do more people take more medication than they're supposed to, or less? Do you know?
Well, it's unknown. So think about it, right? We live in a marketplace where there's pharmacy distribution, and we do that fantastic, right? Yes, so we send the medications. It may or may not be received by the patient. If from a provider perspective, a doctor or nurse, if you don't know if your patients are taking their medications, you ask them. So that's patient self-reported outcomes. Steve, do you take your medications? Do you know what you took 21 days ago? Were you taking all your medications or not? And the majority of the people, they say yes, but that's not being honest with the provider. So what they do is they start giving you a higher dosage, and then a higher dosage, then more medications. And then you have 15 different medications. So
Mm,
Do you need to take all those medications if you're actually taking the 4 or 5 medications correctly?
mm, mm.
Probably not, right? So
Yeah.
really start thinking about it. There's 6 billion prescriptions going out each year in the United States.
Is that what it is? Wow. Wow. No wonder the pharmaceutical companies are the most powerful people on the planet.
They do pretty well.
Yeah, they do just fine. Uh, will it also help? It'll help with addiction then, right? Of course.
So we had some patients that they were overdosing benzodiazepines, and they also suffered from other mental health conditions. What
Uh-huh.
you can do with this device is you can put guardrails on the system. So
I
now
see.
imagine the opioid crisis. Imagine if people had the HiDO devices, but instead of maybe selling their medications or not taking them as intended, they were actually given according to how they're prescribed.
Yeah.
You
How about,
completely alter everything.
especially if you could lock the device where they couldn't get the extra opioids out?
Well, they could probably smash the device. I mean, if they're so inclined, this device is meant for people that actually want to improve their health,
Okay.
and that is their onus instead of people that are looking to abuse it.
How do the bulk of the pills get in the device? Do you fill it once a month, or how does that work?
Yeah. So it comes in. This is a 40-gram container. So you've probably seen a regular pill container. So you have a cap. Cap goes on the device like a Keurig coffee machine. You put it in the back, and then the device auto recognizes medication dosage, frequency, and pill count. So everything
Really?
is done for the patient. Yeah. So
Wow.
imagine a fully automated system. Like you walk up to your microwave. Imagine if you put your package in there, close the door, and then the microwave knows how much time. Is it warm enough? Is it ready for you to go in there?
What?
And it has the
What?
fork ready. We do everything soup to nuts.
Yeah, but how? Okay, my 80-year-old mother, who can't even like figure out how to turn the DVD player on.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, she still has a DVD player. Because God forbid I try to show her how to use Netflix. There's no way. How does she get the original information into the device to do all that?
So that's the great thing. So remember, I was telling you about patient failure. Right now, the marketplace consists of DIY devices where patients have to physically enter the information.
Right.
So let's take your grandmother, as an example. She has to physically put that in. Well, that's probably not going to happen.
No.
Now you have to do it. So what we do is we have an embedded RFID chip within each cap, and it's programmed with that information. So the same information you get on your prescribing label, we put on the cap. The device reads the cap. It's done. Grandma doesn't
What?
need to know how
Holy
to
cow.
do any of that. It's done.
Wow. Wow. Does that prescription have to come from a specific pharmacy, or you're tied into the SKU from all pharmacies?
Yeah. So right now it comes from a specific pharmacy. In the future, again, this is technology that any pharmacy or mail order pharmacy can license from our company, and then they can utilize it as such.
Okay. So you're trying to make a deal with Express Scripts right now.
There's a number of large institutions that we may be talking to.
Dude, you got so much going on. Holy shit. I don't know how you're keeping up with it. I don't know how you. Well, yeah. Okay. Cause yeah. All right. So once you sign on board with all these people dispensing medications, if there's a chip or a SKU code or whatever, and all they got to do, if my mom only has to drop the thing down in there, fine, no problem. She can do that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The more simple you can make it for an 80-year-old, the better off for everybody.
Well, just think about it like this. If 80-year-olds are able to use this, imagine people that are 40, 50, 60, 70 that have cardiovascular conditions, hypertensive diabetics. The majority of the population, we have a lot of folks that have obesity. There's
Yeah.
other chronic
Yeah.
care conditions, not
Yes.
just age-related conditions.
Yes. Like let's use bipolar, for example. Those folks never want to take their medicines. They will always stop taking the medicines. I know because I have family members that they stop taking it as soon as they think they feel better, right?
So we had a patient that we were helping out in one of our research studies, and they didn't tell us that the individual had bipolar schizophrenia. And one of those patients for that you didn't know. And then what we do is we look at the medications and we ensure that they're taking the medications correctly. But this individual was actually overdosing on their medications, but
Oh,
they weren't aware of it. So that was
wow.
causing them to spend time on the ground.
Wow.
and overdose on medications
Wow.
that they
Wow.
shouldn't. But we were able to correct some of those things, and nobody would ever have known about what
That
was going on without this device. And that is the power that we have.
that is a huge testimony. I'm sure you got a ton of testimonials like that. That is awesome. Um, what happens? You may have, we kind of touched on this, but just for the listeners, real quick. Does somebody at your office, or do you contract it out? Does somebody get a notification and then Johnny calls me? How does that happen?
On if you miss your medications, or what are you
Yeah, if you miss a medication or you're not taking it right, there's an alert that goes to somebody.
so there's these beautiful devices. They're iPhones and Android devices. So there's a mobile app that's connected to the device that automates the notifications directly to the patient. So whether it's you, grandma, your wife, maybe your son or your daughter, they will get notifications directly to them. And
Okay.
the great thing is that if they miss their medications, let's just say, Steve, perhaps you're missing your medications. Guess who's notified?
My son,
Or your wife,
my
or
wife.
somebody that you don't want to know that you're missing your medications.
Now,
Right?
see,
So
okay, that yes, bingo. Now I was just thinking about my dad. My dad's gone now, but when he was still alive, if I tried to call my 80-year-old dad and tell him he didn't take his pills, I know exactly how that conversation is going to go. He'd be like, "Yes, I did," and I'll be like, "Dad, no, you didn't." Then what do I do? I'm like, "Watch." What do I say? Watch the. I see you on. I don't see you on video taking it. How would I do that?
And so there's a couple different ways to think about it. So remember, the majority, this is not meant for everybody. This is
Okay.
meant for the people that want to
Want to.
improve their health or
Okay.
stabilize. So
Okay.
it's not going to be for 100% of the population. Let's say it's 95% or 90% of the
Yeah.
population. So dad doesn't take his medications.
Yeah.
You call him and say, hey, dad, I just want to make sure you're okay. Are you okay? I noticed that you missed your medications over the last few days. I know you haven't taken your medications for the last few days. Are you okay? If you want to continue to stay living at home, we got to make sure you're on these medications, right?
Yeah. Can
And
I
so
see him on video on my app on my phone? Can I see his face taking the medication on the screen?
We have a clinical dashboard that's actually that pharmacists and case managers are viewing it. So you would just know whether or not he misses medication. Usually there's a back end component where maybe Steve, if he wasn't responding to you, it would be a case manager or somebody else from the health plan that's monitoring these patients to ensure they're okay. So that's what the video recordings are for.
Is that what all the cubicles are for in the back? Because you're going to have all these case managers.
I don't know. There's the cubicles are meant to be empty. That's the current state of office space right now.
Well, I know, you know why? Because you're going to use this awesome recruiting firm called Riderflex to fill it up with all these people.
I heard they have exceptional resources and talent.
What are you're patented, you're protected with this technology, so you're good there for a while anyway. Who are your enemies? Who's trying to stop you? Who's against you?
Yeah. So who's against me right now that I think is an enemy for not just me, but for many other millions of people is this thing right here. Right. So the current competition is really DIY, do-it-yourselfers. So everybody has been trying to do it themselves for quite a while and trying to maintain their own medications and making sure that they are able to care for themselves. And that's just not working out very well. So that's the current competition. I think that we can elevate and assist folks that maybe aren't doing as well as they could. And some people can manage them, but the majority of the public are definitely being challenged with this.
Okay. But on a serious note, though, pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, insurance companies, I mean, we're talking about some of the most powerful organizations on the planet. Are any of these people for any reason not for your device?
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of organization and the incentives that they have. I can't, go through, line by line each company. There's a benefit to everybody. It's a win-win-win situation.
Feels like it.
And
I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to figure out why it might not be, but it seems like it.
Well, it can be very interesting from a pharmaceutical perspective because what we can track for the first time ever is patient outcomes. So this is a thing called real world data, real world evidence. So we know which medications or which protocol or cocktail of medications you're taking. And then you can look at the lab work and you can look at the hospitalizations, the ER visits. So you can get the entire ecosystem around a pharmaceutical medication. And then ultimately, when you start looking at different patients, age, gender, race, geolocation, income, you can give people the best treatment possible. So you enable providers, nurses, and doctors to actually give the best regimen versus the treatment right now, which is called empiric therapy, which is based upon their medical training and their clinical experience.
That was a great speech. What I heard you say was Pfizer may not like what you're doing.
There are pharmaceutical companies that will have a vested interest in what we're doing, and there's other companies that may not.
US soil. I can tell you've been asked these same questions a bunch of times. Yeah. If I'm Pfizer, I'm like, hey man, Charles is making this great device over here that might actually decrease cells.
Or increase them, right? So if you
Maybe.
let's say you have a branded medication in the market and you're negotiating with a major health insurance plan. Health insurance plans want great outcomes.
That's
Pharmaceutical companies want great outcomes too.
Do they? I don't know.
There's a negotiation of prices, right? So within the clinical trials, they have to validate clinical efficacy and safety of these molecules in order to get them approved by the FDA. So pharmaceutical manufacturers, a lot of times they're looked at as a villain, but they're in the business of providing medications to help improve health efficacy and clinical results. So substantiating those results in a real world population is exceptionally challenging.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm too much of a conspiracy theorist on all this stuff. You haven't had Bruno like in a black dark car parked outside your house or anything. There's nothing weird.
You see a lot of empty desks here.
What's the do you have a long-term vision? Do you want to build it and sell it? Or are you just having fun building it? Have you whiteboarded out like, oh, if we get to here, then I'm out, or anything like that? Any discuss? I mean, I know it's super early. Just curious.
Yeah, right now, I mean, we're solely focused on making an impact on as many lives as possible. I mean, I think it depends upon where my head is at the time. I mean, I'd like to say that we're going to see this thing all the way to the end. Right now we've laid the foundation with the research at Stanford and Rush and Medicare Advantage plan. I want to see this product come to market. The plan is when we reach, the next series of milestones, we'll have operators that have done this before to really grow a device company to that next level. My, role and responsibility will be in a different fashion because that's not my pedigree. That's not my area of expertise. And I acknowledge that. There are plenty of folks there that are fantastic operators and they can commercialize this and really bring it to the masses. So I will be the biggest cheerleader in the background and I will support it every which way I can.
Yeah, good for you, man. Investors love hearing that type of attitude from a founder. Yeah, for sure. There will likely be a day, bringing this all the way back to the beginning, when you and your wife walk into a dinner party. You walk in and the people there, they don't really know you very well. They don't know your history. You're going to walk into the kitchen and you're going to see that device and you're going to be like, yeah, me and my team, we put that here. And none of these people at this dinner party know, but I know, and I feel damn good about it.
Yeah, it's right now, it's been a pretty unique experience. Some of the folks that have this device living in their home, they don't want to let go of it. And that is an awesome feeling when they know that this is the reason why they're still around.
Yeah. It's good stuff, Charles. Congratulations, man, on where you're at so far.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. You're working your ass off. Kudos to you and your wife who's supporting you on this journey.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Steve. And then maybe one of these days you can actually fill some of these desks in the background.
Yes, bro. All right, man. Charles, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story. I appreciate it.
I do not want to die over medication. I've been taking my medication like on schedule, and I'm not afraid of overdosing. I think it's a very good machine. It's perfect for somebody that needs to have medication every day.
HiDO can help enhance virtual care by guiding patients through medication compliance. HiDO automates the medication experience and removes the person's burden. HiDO dispenses the right medication at the right time, the right frequency, and the right person. HiDO records the medication consumption record to ensure compliance and alerts pharmacists about interventions.
I run global venture capital and M&A for a large Japanese-based multinational, really about simplifying the patient journey and what they should be doing day to day. So concatenating these data sets, this is everything in my book. I think HiDO has the ability to not only create the most unique data set for drug-on-drug interaction in the world, but can allow us to incrementalize that data into new product creation. We were relying on the four walls of the hospital. Care delivery is occurring at those endpoints as opposed to continuously. Solutions like HiDO are in the home, and it would be really cool to just be a small part of that journey. So